connect you to your call. The host has joined the conference.
County Board of County Commissioners meeting will come to order. Today is August the 4th, 2020, time 9 o'clock a.m. I wonder if I could impose upon Commissioner Prince to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you conduct a roll call, please?
Commissioner Flower,
Present.
Commissioner Kanda,
Here.
Commissioner Prince, Attorney Clint Smith, and Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper present.
Yeah, we'll. There's one here. Bill, you wanna? Here.
Hello.
Thank you, ma'am.
Check.
Test.
Are they on? Test, 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 test.
So for audience introductions, gentlemen, I got a suggestion based on recent.
Anything will work.
Yeah, based on recent developments. I'd like to propose this, that we, in audience introductions for the foreseeable future, introduce or go through the room and introduce the people that are here. We will not, I'm suggesting, I'm not telling, I'm proposing that we would not have introductions on the phone until somebody wanted to have public comment. They would identify themselves then and then have their public comment. I thought about this overnight, and I think maybe at the beginning of the audience introduction, we would ask our IT person to tell us how many people are on the call, and then when we get to public comment, instruct the folks on the call to identify themselves and then have their public comment. I don't think there's any reason for us to really know who's on that call. Certainly, I think we have a right to know who is speaking, but other than that,
And the numbers.
and then the number of people on the call would just be for our information. So I would ask if you guys, certainly we can have comment about that if you want, but I just thought that might simplify a bunch of things. Kelly, you have input about that too. Does it matter to you, your record? We can just enter into the record that X number of people were on the call, but that's not always accurate because somebody could come on the call later. So we could just say various people or a number of people were on the call. And do you record public comment by name? And okay, so so-and-so and so-and-so had public comment. You don't record what the public comment is in your minutes.
Right.
We can go back to the audio recording if we had to. Okay. What do you think, gentlemen? Would you support that for our commissioner meetings?
I'm 100% on board with it. We'll know who has something to say, and I think some people might want to listen who prefer not to say who they are, just want to listen in. So I have no issue with that whatsoever.
Okay. Commissioner Kanda?
I'm good with it.
Okay. Attorney Smith, you see any issues with that change in proceeding?
No, in military terms, it's kind of been a Charlie Foxtrot the way it's been going through.
Okay.
I have another
A friend
term,
in the Army
military
that
term
told me
for you.
about Charlie Foxtrot.
Yeah. Well,
It's, no, there's no problem.
okay. We live in a civilian world. I'll guarantee you I had a civilian term for how things have been going, but we'll keep that to ourselves, won't we? Pretty much.
If anybody wants to know, that was Chairman Flower's comment, no one else's.
Oh, okay. So I think that'll maybe clean up a bunch of stuff. Unfortunately, I'll probably forget, the next meeting I'll say, okay, audience introductions, but thank you. So by consent then, that's how we will move forward on audience introductions. And for the first few meetings, I'll try to remember to do that. So with that then, because I think the only person you didn't roll call was Kara Evans, our admin assistant, is in the room, so that is it. So if you're on the phone, we are not going to have audience introductions via the phone callers, but I will ask anybody during public comment to identify yourself before addressing the board. So with that, we'll move on. Gentlemen, any amendments to the agenda?
I have none, sir.
None here.
Okay, I have one, and it's when I asked Kelly to add this to the agenda, I was assuming it'd be under new business, but it ended up under staff reports, which is fine, because that's where we were probably going to deal with it, right? There was no reason to ask him to stay. And so, yes, and so I'm going to move to strike consideration of settling with J&R Adjustment Company, and if I can get a second, then I'll explain why.
I'll second it.
Thank you, sir. It's been moved and seconded to strike consideration of settling with J&R Adjustment Company. Discussion. So Commissioner Prince and I had an opportunity to run into Gary Hyde, the Road and Bridge Supervisor, yesterday, and he indicated, he asked if it would be okay if he just sent his stuff in today because they were starting a hot mix project out south. I said, yeah, I don't think there's a problem with that as long as we get your reports. And so this item was on here assuming that Gary was going to be here so we could have an extended conversation about that. So the reason I moved to strike was because he's not going to be here, and then we can add it to a subsequent agenda.
Did he, you guys got the email that he sent?
Yes. Yes. Yep. Yeah, and so I think it would be appropriate to add that onto an agenda, excuse me, an agenda item somewhere down the road. They may settle between Gary and that company. I don't know. Didn't really sound like it, but they might. So if we just strike now, then we'll add it later. I hate to add a date that we're going to add it back on because it may not be necessary. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of striking consideration of settling with J&R Adjustment Company, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Gentlemen, would you prefer to me to take the vote by name or?
Whatever's easy.
Okay.
I
Whatever
think it's
you're
good that if
comfortable
you say
with.
it, then we know when to say aye.
Yeah, I was kind of getting into that, the whole thing, and then I thought about that too. You know, there'll be times when it might be an individual may choose not to vote first.
Say so.
And you could say so. I thought, well, maybe we ought to just rotate. I think it's weird for the chairman to vote first, but just because typically chairmans don't vote at all. Right. So that's why I always kind of defer to the last. But maybe for our commissioner meetings, I can just take the vote. You know, last week it was Bill I called on first. Now this week, and then next week maybe I vote first. And we always have a right to call for a secret ballot. If you, for some reason, choose not to divulge how you vote, that is your right. And then the other thing is, you have a right to request a written ballot that is public.
And a roll call.
And a roll call. We can do that. Roll call, written. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that we can vote, but typically those are the three. You may not want your vote influenced by us, so you could ask for a written vote. We all write it down, hand it to the clerk. She reads our name and our vote. It's public that way. How you voted is a public record, but it's just a timing matter. So
In
let's
fact,
throw that out.
the two of you and me, but of the two of you, the actual very first vote you ever took was a written vote.
Yes, it was. I remember. Yep, sure was. And we did not associate those votes with the names, so it was actually a secret ballot. But anybody could have requested that the name of the voter and his vote be read into the record, even though we vote on paper.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Go ahead.
Thank you. The only reason I know we have very distinct voices, the three of us, but because we have people on the phone, I'm still kind of in favor of, Mr. Kanda, how do you vote? Prince, how do you vote? Flower, how do you vote? Just so the audience
Right.
knows how we're standing on issues, unless we invoke one of the other methods.
Yeah.
So I'm more in favor of calling the name
Okay.
first, just for the audience sake.
Okay. So I will try to get us on a rotating basis so that one individual really doesn't have the burden to vote first. And of course, then it really kind of impacts the third person more than the first. So, or it could impact. Then the other thing I have under amending the agenda, if I'm on the right agenda, I'm going to move to, maybe I better not. I see our items of business are unfinished business. I believe they should be under new business, but when I caught your eye, I thought, oop, Kelly may have a reason for having done that. Even though we've talked about these before, they do not really belong in unfinished business. We were not in the middle of either one of these when our meeting was interrupted by some other event. So I'm going to move that we strike the two items from unfinished business and add them to new business.
Second.
Yeah, okay, thank you. It's been moved and seconded to strike the items under new business and move those to, strike those from unfinished business and add them to new business discussion.
No issue.
Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of striking the two items from unfinished business and adding them to new business, say aye. Commissioner Prince.
Aye.
Commissioner Kanda.
Aye.
I'm sorry. Commissioner Flower votes aye. Commissioner Kanda.
Okay, I'll vote aye.
Thank you. Motion. All opposed? Motion carries. And that's all I have for amendments to the agenda. Anything else, gentlemen, before we move on?
No, sir.
Approve the minutes. We have none, so we'll move to commissioner items. Commissioner Prince, would you like to begin, sir?
Thank you, sir. Very interesting meeting yesterday. I'm not going to dissect it or anything, but as a commissioner, I deal with a lot of conversation after the meeting. That was just a comment. What I'd really like to propose, gentlemen, is that we fix our phone system. It appears, and of course I don't know, but it appears that we're going to be live streaming or on the phone instead of live audiences for quite a while, it appears. I heard many comments from many people during the meeting and after the meeting how disappointed they were that they were unable to hear, and there was an issue about comments at the end. I will just state for the record, I know at the time it was Chairman Kanda asked for public comment and there were none. And then a lot of people said, how come I didn't get a chance to speak? And I believe that's because of the inefficient phone system, telecommunications that we have now. So even though it may cost us some money, I strongly urge that we immediately ask our IT director to come up with a better system so that the audience can hear and that we can hear them and that this information gets portrayed the way we need it to be. These are all open meetings. I always invite folks to come to the meetings, and it's terrible if they can't come on. I also don't like the idea of having people's cell phones in the background. I mean, there are solutions to this. So I'd propose, even if there is some expense to this, that we go ahead and bite the bullet and get a system that works for everybody.
Point of clarification, if I may, sir.
Yes, sir.
During Chairman Kanda's public comment period, you're correct. He did ask for public comment. However, he did have a public comment, and that was from Melissa Livengood. The last time she spoke was during public comment. And then he asked again if there was any more public comment. We heard nothing, so I moved to adjourn.
Right. And Mr. Chairman, I absolutely concur with what you're saying. I really was referring to public comment from the
Oh,
folks
from
on
the
the,
phone. Okay,
from the
thank
folks
you.
on the
Yeah,
phone.
okay.
I got many comments overnight
Right.
about, I had things I want to say, and next thing I knew, it was adjourned.
Right.
And I suspect that was not the way the meeting was run. It was the telecommunication not working well.
Okay, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Okay. Other things, sir, on your report? Okay. Commissioner Kanda?
Yeah, I agree with I agree with you, Jay. We need to do something about it, and we need to spend some time doing it. So we need to get options. You know, some options even include we're not married to this room. We could go into a bigger room and get people to actually be there, which in the old days we did, and that was limited by the size of the room, and that's just the way the breaks fell out. So we got new technology now. We can incorporate phones as well. I think we're stuck with them forever, probably, because it is nice to have people be able to dial in that can't make it into a meeting. So we'll have to put it on as agenda items somewhere at some point and get Vern to give us some options.
Thank you. I just put it up.
Okay.
Okay. Since our last meeting, we did meet with DOLA and the two mayors to discuss distribution of the CARES Act funding for reimbursement of coronavirus costs. I thought that went well, and I've had several people asking me if they had already missed the bandwagon because they didn't understand, based on the paper's report on our meeting where we said we were going to do that, they need to get some costs in, but they didn't understand. So I know we're going to put a press release out saying get your stuff in, and that kind of thing is in the future. And I think you're doing that, aren't you, Jane? Or are you volunteering?
No, I'm writing the
Or
press
was it you,
release.
Tom?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that was that. The Board of Health meeting I thought was fine as well. Got some clarification questions from Elliott Tribune, so I've got those that we will submit. I'm going to hand them to you guys to take a look. I've got the answers that, from my recollection, we want to make sure we're all speaking the same, so I'm going to send them to you before I send them to Elliott. And I think her deadline's like noon today, so we'll get them during the meeting here. Also, I did call Mr. Brown, or Dr. Brown, last night and made him the offer, and he was ecstatic about it, is willing to take it, and will be here in 2 weeks. He's got 2 weeks worth of finish up, and he will be here to just, we can make a time to.
So his start date will be the 17th then?
Right, that's what he agreed to last night. He's gonna, that gets him back out of his obligations on his current job. And the salary was fine with him. He didn't, and I know some of the questions that were asked had to do with salary ranges, and we went round robin last night, but that was a factor of how we had it on the agenda. Although I don't know why we're married to the order on the agenda anyway. That can be moved, I think, real time without a lot of hassle. We just need to pay more attention to it. And so
Did you inform Donna?
yes.
Have you let her know
Well,
that?
no, I have not. He called back. He called me at 9 last night because I had to get him off his job, and he called back. So I've not talked to Donna yet. And let's see, what else was there? We got a couple of meetings coming up, task force wise. I need to get back up to speed on that. So thank you. That's all I have for now. I know I'll think of a few things.
Okay. I really didn't have much on my calendar. I suppose I better look at it to make sure, though.
Oh, I did have one other.
Go ahead.
I did talk to Piper Sandler, and it's in the, I know we have it on as an agenda item. He was going to rewrite the letter and get it to us before the meeting. He hasn't done that yet, but when on my time, I'll explain what he did say.
Okay.
Thanks, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So the only thing I had on my calendar was obviously the Board of Health meeting yesterday afternoon, and then followed up by the Coronavirus Relief Fund Committee meeting at 3:30. So I've got some other items I want to bring up, though, during the commissioner items. One is I would like us to consider moving to a Zoom platform on August the 12th. I realize that there may be people still on the planet that don't have access to a computer. So,
They can still call in though.
well, my point is, I think we need to try to wean ourselves from this inefficient phone system. That's why I'm suggesting we go to a Zoom platform for one meeting and try that, as well as live stream it. And so that would be my ask of the commissioners, is to try the mid-month meeting on Zoom and not use the telephone. Comments or thoughts about that? Go ahead, sir.
Commissioner, that falls exactly into where I was on my commissioner meetings, how inefficient this was. I certainly feel that going through Zoom would be a more cost-effective method. So I'm certainly in favor of giving it a shot and see how it goes. And if it's a disaster, we can go back to the drawing board. But there are many, many large meetings held on Zoom. We've all been on them. So it sounds like a very good idea to me.
I agree, and my comment on the phone still is valid, because Zoom, you can call in without a computer. You just dial in. So I think we'd be better off because it's one system. We're not going through two cobbled up ways of doing it like we are currently. So I like the idea.
Let's plan on it, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Vernon,
Thanks for
are you on the call? Vernon? Yeah, I'll follow up with him. Kelly, do you have a problem with that, trying to Zoom on the 12th of August?
No.
No, it'll only be the people coming into our meeting.
Right.
Yes, sir, I'm on the call.
Thank you, sir. I'll be with you in just a second. So I don't think the platform we use is going to affect you,
Problem with that?
Right.
right? I mean, you'll
It
do your
should.
thing anyway. It's
Right.
just outside people wanting to participate in the meeting. Vern, I had a question for you. I hate to do this all on during the meeting, but quickly, can you get us on a Zoom platform for August 12th?
Yes, sir, we're working on that right now.
Okay,
Mr.
to
Mayor.
conduct our meeting, and then we'll get that information out to Kelly and get it posted. I would say we probably ought to have that agenda posted by the, no later than the 10th, because it's going to be a new change for people, so they need 2 or 3 days to make sure. Well, that'd be even better if you can, absolutely. Thursday, I was going to say Thursday or Friday. Yeah, if you can get that information from Vern, because it's a fairly long ID number, but let's try that. I would like to just try it at least once and see how it works. Thank you, gentlemen, appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
The other thing I just wanted to bring you up to speed on, I attended a presentation the other day in the Treasurer's office from Computer Informations Company, CIC. They gave a presentation, as did a company by the name of Tyler, that I did not set in on that presentation. And they are presenting a new software. These are software companies presenting a new software program that the county is going to consider to replace our current ACS accounting system. And so there's some issues. I don't want to speak above my grade here, but as I understand it, let me qualify that. As I understand it, ACS is a sub-company to a larger conglomerate. They're having issues. That ACS company may go down in the next year or two or may be sold, and so we're looking at a different software company to go to. So right now we're paying about $77,000 a year for the treasurer's, the assessor's office, and the finance office to utilize that software. Kelly's on her own through the state, and so is Human Services. But so those three offices, we pay about $77,000 a year. CIC has written a bid proposal to contract with us over a period of 5 years. We pay an annual fee, but then we also have to pay a transition fee. And so rather than paying the transition fee up front, this particular company has broken that out over a 5-year period, which will end up having the effect of having that annual maintenance fee for all 3 offices run about $80,000 a year. The issue that I think we're going to be confronted with here financially is that we're going to have to run both of those systems concurrent for a while we make that transition. So we're going to end up paying double. Hopefully it wouldn't be for an extended period of time, but maybe a month or 2 that we're going to have to absorb that. So don't know when that's going to happen for sure. This CIC company I know made a presentation to the treasurer, the assessor, and to the finance. So I just wanted to bring that up, get it on our radar, because we're going to have to probably better budget that. If it doesn't happen before budget season, the problem is we may have to make that transition before the end of the year so that January rolls around, they're ready to go. So I don't know how that's going to work, but anyway. The other thing I wanted to bring up was we need to decide, now that we have all vetted the candidates for the emergency manager position, we need to decide officially make a decision on how many candidates we want to interview. Donna sent us the compilation of those vetting choices yesterday, or day before, I'm sorry, and so Chair would entertain a motion as to the number of candidates.
I move that we interview 3 candidates based on the latest poll that she gave us. What is she called? The votes? And to me, possibly 4. I don't think we need to do the 5, and we need to discuss the reasons why. Because in my opinion, I looked at the other votes that were there. We were common in several areas, what was strong. A couple people, 3 actually, disagreed on a couple of candidates, and so I think we need to understand. Do we need to, if those candidates are weak, we need to understand why I thought they were weak or why you did, whoever. So probably we need to discuss candidate A, B, C, D, F, and G so we can do that. I don't want to waste a person's time coming in here, and I don't want to waste our time either, interviewing more than we need to interview. So that's
Sounds
just
like a motion I would make that long.
Anyway, I'm sorry, I got into the discussion. Because you guys all had a big question mark. Why 3? Anyway, that's what I move. We can discuss it and change it.
Is there a second? Again, is there a second to the motion to interview 3? Hearing none, motion dies for lack of a second. Do
Fine
not
with
take
me.
that personal, sir, because
I
I'm going to
never take
follow
that
up.
personal.
I had nothing
Yeah.
personal.
Yeah,
We just
exactly.
felt differently.
Asked for
I would have seconded it, and then I certainly would have made a motion to amend, and so I thought, well, rather than
Why
go
save-
through all
why not
that, we
save
just,
time?
that's right.
that's why I threw it out like
yeah.
that blunt to begin
No
with.
problem. So you have the data, the results of the vetting. There were 5 people that vetted the applications. And so the chair would entertain a motion as to the number of people that the board wishes to interview based on that.
I'll move that we interview 5 candidates.
Is there a second?
I'll second it, just show you how brave I am.
You're a good
Been
man.
moved and seconded that we interview 5 of the 8 candidates. Discussion about that. Go ahead, sir. You're the maker of the motion.
Thank you, sir. I think 4 of the 5 we all agreed with. 2 of the 3 of us agreed on the 5th candidate. And I understand why. I thought the 5th candidate, the one that in my mind at least is the question mark, had a lot of experience inside and outside the country. And I just felt to do this properly, we really ought to talk to all 5 of them. I think there were 8 candidates. 3 of them we felt were inappropriate and they were not asked to come for interview or were not part of our, they were part of our vetting process. We decided they didn't make the initial cut. So I'm in favor of, it would be just one additional interview, but who knows, maybe this person would be a diamond in the rough. I don't know. I'd hate to just cut it out because we want to get out of here sooner or something like that. I'm in favor of the 5.
Okay. I guess my comment would be, as I look, we had 2 candidates that all 5 people voted to interview. We had 2 candidates that 2 different people indicated they did not want to interview those, and we had 1 candidate that 2 people indicated that we not interview. So other than the 2 candidates that were unanimous, there was a little bit of variation across the board on the other 3. Personally, I didn't feel like if there'd have been one more no on one of those candidates, that probably would have been a deal breaker for me. But certainly I would listen to an argument about interviewing 4 instead of 5, but I kind of support the idea of interviewing the 5.
Okay, now let me talk.
Yeah,
My turn.
go ahead. Yeah, we're still in discussion.
The candidate that's that we're discussing, I feel, is weak, and so did another person on the board that has significant experience.
Okay,
in this. So
can I interrupt
there
just
were
for a
2
second?
no votes.
Because I should have done this. We can talk about these candidates by candidate number.
Sure.
Those were random numbers. So,
candidate 8.
okay, so we're the only 3 that
So there's
know who
2
that is.
no votes on that.
Right.
And I think that a commissioner is one. That would be me. I'm just going to say that.
Okay,
And with experience in the OEM world, and specifically this county's needs, and the other candidate, or the reviewer was, I believe, well credentialed. I don't believe that candidate had a lot of security background and some experience dealing with other countries, but none related to actual management and relationships with the people that the Office of Emergency Management deals with, the Forest Service, the fire departments, the hospitals, the ambulance services, and understanding what a command center job is. That person is a traffic cop with a heavy duty to make sure all this goes well, or people die because things aren't coordinated correctly. And of course, in this new world, we have to also coordinate with the Public Health Agency as well. So I don't think it's nice to do that, and we can do 5 in one day. That's not because I'm lazy that I don't want to do it. I just don't want to waste that person's time coming in, because I don't think that person will qualify.
would you care to amend, sir? Would you like to amend the motion?
Did I make it?
No, Jay made it, I seconded it.
I would like to amend the motion to interview 4.
Okay, strike 5 and insert 4.
Yeah.
I'll second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to amend the motion by striking the number 5 and inserting 4. Discussion.
So just to make sure I understand, it would be candidate number 8. That would be, okay.
That's
Want to make sure.
correct.
Just want to make sure.
I'm
because we have a
assuming-
few others that
yeah.
had questions.
I should have said that in the motion. And the motion is to interview 4 by eliminating candidate number 8.
Okay. So then, by attrition, then we are voting, well, the result of this vote, if it passes, would be to interview candidate 4, 5, 6, and 7. Is that,
That's correct.
everybody understand? Further discussion on the amendment. I think you had a great point, Commissioner Kanda. I guarantee you, if there'd have been a third no on there, I'd have been all in, but I certainly appreciate what you're saying and will support the amendment. Any other discussion?
I think Commissioner Piana's point is very well taken, but there was so much leadership involved with that candidate that, I don't know. I mean, I can go either way. I would hate to have a great candidate that we just chose not to interview for whatever reason, and it turns out this is a great candidate. So I don't know. I think candidate 1, 2, and 3, we all agree was not suited proper for the job. But the rest of them we were all mixed on, so the interviews are really, to me, what makes or breaks a candidate. A lot of people are going to come to this job without the experience. I mean, it is possible someone's going to come to this job without Office of Emergency Management experience, and they'll just have to learn it. So I don't know. I can go with 4 or 5. I just hate to exclude an individual who may be a good one.
Okay. And then I wanted to clarify, or I guess without beating around the bush, call you to task on a word you used, sir. When you said that you felt like we had 3 candidates that were inappropriate, I don't think you probably meant that in the true sense of the word, did you?
I felt that they were the weakest 3, and we decided they probably would not. Weakest by resume, and we decided not to interview them.
Okay.
And I don't even mean they were weak. What I mean is we had stronger candidates than them. That's really...
Okay. I didn't think you meant that they were inappropriate.
Yeah, I didn't mean inappropriate.
Okay. Further discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the amendment, which is to interview, strike 5 and insert 4 for the number of candidates we interview, say aye. Commissioner Prince?
Nay.
Commissioner Flower? Aye. Commissioner Kanda?
Aye.
Motion carries. The amendment carries. We'll now vote on the main motion, which is to interview 4 candidates, candidates number 4, 5, 6, and 7 on our own sheet, which only is an internal numbering system. Further discussion on that? So part of this, during the discussion of this, let me minimize this just for a second, gentlemen. Gosh, how many screens? I'll bring it up later. It's not really germane to the motion. It's on the floor. So I'll wait and hold that discussion later. So other discussion on the main motion. Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Commissioner Prince?
Aye.
Commissioner Flower? Aye. Commissioner Kanda?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and we will interview 4 candidates. And so right now I could report to you that the target date is August the 10th in the afternoon. If we're interviewing 4, then I guess we can start at noon, and we'll just eat an early lunch, and then we can knock those out.
That'd be great.
Okay? And do you feel 45 minutes is adequate?
I do, sir. We've done that many times
Okay.
in the past.
So I told Ms. Donna that I would at least address those 2 things. And so then also a question I think needs to come before us is one of those candidates is an out-of-state candidate. Given the coronavirus and we're not under a lot of travel restrictions, I can't speak to Kansas. Would you be willing to interview one of those candidates via a phone conversation?
We've done it before. I have no problem.
Yeah, I agree. I would like to do it via Zoom so we
Just
could
what I
see the
was-
person if that's possible.
Just what I was going to suggest. So, Counselor, these interviews need to be conducted in executive session or a closed workshop?
It'll be a closed workshop
Okay.
like we did when we discussed, same for
Okay.
Public Health Director.
Okay. And would you be comfortable in having a candidate interview via Zoom in a closed workshop?
That would be fine. Zoom is basically recognized as the same as an actual meeting, even
Okay.
if it's a virtual meeting.
Okay. So I guess I'm going to suggest maybe we leave that up to Donna if she can make that arrangements with the candidate and with Vern to set that up on a Zoom conference at whatever time she assigns.
Mr. Chairman, I'd agree with that. If there's a reason that a candidate can't make it on the 10th, I would not hold that against them. I would say we as a we can hold a separate meeting to handle that if that happens. I mean, these are all working people, every one of them, and it may not be convenient for them or appropriate for them to be on a meeting with us. So I'd like to accommodate them if we need to. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, great point. I think Donna is under kind of the marching orders of try to get that on the 10th. If she has conflicts, she will set it up on the 13th or the 17th. So I think we need to be prepared to have a special workshop to interview those candidates whenever they're available. But she said she would try to get them all on the 10th.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry to take so long. I just thought we needed to get through these, and they weren't on the agenda, and she was needing some direction for that. So that concludes my commissioner's report, if you can believe it. Upper Ark water report, anything?
No, well, you got is it Thursday, this Thursday, and it's still scheduled?
I do not
Or
have
is
that
it-
scheduled for this Thursday, no.
Or did they change meetings? I don't know.
I have not
Well, it
gotten
was-
their meeting notice yet, so I'm assuming it'll be on the
The first
13th,
Thursday or
but yeah,
whatever it is.
and I may have to miss it if we have to interview on the 13th. We'll move on then, if nothing else. Attorney items, we certainly want to give that attorney an opportunity to speak.
I attended the Board of Health meeting yesterday also. The Planning Commission was meeting at the same time in the courtroom, and I was called over there for some legal input. They were discussing regulations for short-term rentals and had some questions, so I assisted them. As usual, I've written more letters for the Planning and Zoning Office regarding zoning violations, and it's a chronic problem. People build a structure, they get a permit for an accessory structure, which is essentially a shed. It can be other things, but then they start using it as a dwelling, and they don't have a septic system, which is required for all dwellings. And there was a time when chemical toilets were allowed, and some people are still using chemical toilets, but that's no longer permitted by the state of Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. And one of the things I found out, because I was wondering how the planning and zoning finds out about these violations, and a lot of them, they just check realtors' advertising, and it's amazing how much false information realtors are putting out there in their ads, saying this property has a shed and a bunkhouse so you can sleep up to 8 people, and it's got an outhouse, or it's got a chemical toilet, which is fine, that's all you need. So there's a lot of false information that is being given out by realtors. That's not our job to regulate the realtors, but I was surprised when I've seen what they're advertising about these properties. Anyway, I wrote some letters for the violations, and we'll wait and see whether that resolves the issue, if we have to go further than that. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Been waiting for the next one.
Yeah, I haven't breathed for about the last 3 minutes. I never took a breath during the attorney's whole report because I was waiting with held breath. I wonder if the administrative assistant has anything to bring up today. Oh, you're good? Okay, thank you. Public comment, Bob. Vern just sent me a text and indicated we had one person on the phone today. I meant to ask him that when we went through the audience introductions, and I forgot to do that. Any public comment to come before the commissioners today? Yes, sir.
Hi, this is Tracy Ballard.
Do you mind? Go ahead, Tracy.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for moving this to Zoom starting on the 12th. It will be so much better, and it is so greatly appreciated. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Appreciate the comments.
Can I ask a quick question? Tracy, how do you hear us right now?
It's not too bad.
Why is
Sometimes it's a little muffled, but it's coming across pretty good today.
Okay,
Yesterday was terrible.
Yeah, I don't know why, but thank you.
Commissioner, Attorney Smith, sorry. Thank you, Tracy.
Yeah, I had one other thing I wanted to mention briefly. This is more appropriate for the Board of Health meeting, but I didn't get an opportunity to speak there. The county attorneys have their own website where they exchange information. There is universal frustration by the county attorneys trying to figure out what the executive orders and the public health orders are and the changes that are constantly being made. We're in the 9th amendment to the governor's executive order, and the way those are being done is they make changes, but you have to go back and look at the previous executive orders to try to figure out what's going on. And even the attorneys can't figure it out, and I don't think there's any way the public can figure it out. But the one thing I wanted to mention is that when we do get our new public health director on board in the Board of Health meeting, I think it's very important for us to sit down and have a good policy discussion about these orders and what we would need to do or what the Board of Health would need to do if we are going to have any sort of a legal enforcement mechanism. But that's an issue for the Board of Health. I just wanted to get that out there now.
Okay, thank you. And you sparked a thought. Commissioner Canada, as chairman of the Board of Health, I think it would probably be better if we included an attorney report on the agenda for Board of Health as a standing
we overlooked
item.
him yesterday, but we should
Well, it's
have.
not even on the agenda,
I know, that's
so
why
I'm
I
just
said
saying.
it needs to be on there.
Anything else, sir? Okay, we'll move on. Any other public comment? Staff reports, landfill, he's here. I wonder if we would be better served if we would move the times down the clock a little bit on these land serve staff reports. Wonder if we shouldn't start them at 9:30. I don't know how long Brian's been out there. I can't see him, but I'll bet he's been there for 15 minutes, and that's just not fair. So by consent, gentlemen, unless there's any objection, I would ask the clerk to start these at 9:30 instead of 9:15. Is that reasonable, Kelly? Gentlemen?
No issue.
Yeah, it's okay.
All right.
We end up doing it at 9:30 or later anyway.
Well, it seems like it. I mean, I think once or twice we've been 9:15, but it's pretty rare, so I would appreciate that. Okay, Mr. Bryan, we are set, sir. Landfill. Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate that.
I'd shake your hand, but you might die.
Yeah. I've got three landfills. No, two. Which would you like to start with? I have a landfill totals and a landfill report.
The report
Okay.
is fine. It just goes over everything's normal.
Okay.
We got a Safety Monday printout, which is one of the attachments. Rusty has been running the scraper, the 623. We had some issues at the start, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
we had to get the chain sprockets. I think they actually had to put 2 new ones on.
No kidding. That's what it ended up doing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it jumped. The chain jumped off the one, and then they had 2 different tires on the back, which was causing it to load on one side, which wasn't good either. So we got that fixed, and he's been in it for the last, since Wednesday.
Wow.
You know, that was a mistake. I'm aware of that too, but it seems to me that the rental company ought to reimburse us the time it took to screw around.
I'm gonna try to
They,
talk
they
to
need
Tom.
to get, because they can't, I mean,
Yeah,
different size tires and the sprockets are easy to see.
Right. I've got every hour logged so
Right,
far,
right.
as far as what maintenance was done, and we will make sure that we get this scraper for the amount of time.
Right, that-
regardless of.
I'm almost sure that won't account against our lease agreement
No.
as far as the timing goes.
Right.
That's on their deal.
Right. So anyway, I'll probably get in it tomorrow, and we'll get me started on it. I've driven it around,
Okay,
so.
good. Good,
Yeah,
good.
gonna be better than that pretty soon.
Yeah,
Rusty.
Rusty's ready to get on out of it.
Yeah,
you
I'll
know,
bet.
so. But anyway, so our John Deere loader is still getting worked on. The Komatsu, the county, we were using their loader, and it broke down too. Unfortunately, we got the Cat 936, but it's not really adequate. But hopefully tomorrow we'll get our John Deere back. So.
Okay. Yeah, I know Jay had a question. Go ahead, sir, and then I have a comment.
I was just doing, while we were talking scraper, do you anticipate, assuming no more breakdowns, how long it will be before the new trench is ready to?
Probably, what is today, the 4th? I'm betting probably by September, we'll have that
Ready to
done,
go.
dug out.
Okay,
The
thank you.
end ramp might not be finished, depending on how it goes the rest of the time. If that's the case, then we'll just end up doing that with the loader and the dozer. So it's not
Sounds
a big
good.
deal. So we'll get most of it done.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, and then obviously we're continuing to use that trench while they're excavating the rest of it, so.
Right.
Yeah, interestingly, the other day when